Prince Harry spoke to a group of people in the UK who have very strong political ideas. Now everyone is wondering what the leaders at Buckingham Palace think about what he said on that TV show. This could lead to something big when Prince William becomes the king. It is very possible that William will take away Harry's special royal title. Not long ago, Prince William did something that surprised the whole world. He did not give a big speech or talk to the news on TV. Instead, he just sat down and signed a single piece of white paper. With that one signature, two children who were born into the most famous family in the world suddenly were not part of the royal group anymore. There was no big fight or warning given to anyone. It was just a cold and quiet move that changed their lives forever. This whole problem did not start with a giant shouting match. It actually started because Harry wanted to do the right thing for his kids. He worked very hard to put together a giant book of papers that was 72 pages long. He flew across the big ocean and gave it to his brother, William. Harry thought this would be a gift to make peace, but William did not shake his hand or say thank you. Instead, William started a secret group and checked all of Harry's money records. They even had a very late meeting at 2:00 in the morning in a house that had been empty for a very long time. Harry's wife, Meghan, has a lawyer who said William was using Harry's feelings against him, but the people in charge could not ignore what Harry was asking. Harry tried to protect his kids, but he ended up losing everything in just one night. The secrets in this story are much bigger than anything you have heard on the news before. Harry had been living far away in California for a long time. Some people might think living in a big sunny house is great, but it was not easy for him. Being far away from the royal family felt like a heavy weight. The distance was not just about the miles. It was a feeling that was growing and getting tighter every day. It started to feel like a punishment instead of a choice he made. He was thousands of miles away from the home where he grew up. He was away from his family name and the long history of his people. The longer he stayed in America, the more he felt the doors of his old life closing behind him. People could tell he still felt a strong pull to his home, even if he was trying to act like he was happy being away. Harry's children, Archie and Lily, were growing up in a place called Montecito. Their life looked very pretty and nice to people watching from the outside, but Harry was worried. He knew they were missing out on important things. They did not have the royal protection or the special place in the family that he thought they deserved since they were born. That feeling did not go away, it just got louder and louder in his head. So he made a big choice. He was going to fix this once and for all. He was not going to cry or do another interview on TV. He was going to use something that the palace could not argue with. He was going to use science to prove he was right. Harry made a giant file that was 72 pages long. That is a lot of paper. This was not a short note written because he was mad. It was a very careful and organized report. He truly believed this report would change the minds of everyone in the palace. It had special DNA tests from a fancy lab in California. It had medical papers from doctors in Beverly Hills. He made sure every detail was perfect. He thought no one could say no to the facts he found. You can see why he thought this would work. He was bringing his brother real science and professional papers. Usually when you put facts on the table, the argument ends. Harry told himself that this would be the way to make the palace let his children back into the group. He sent the whole giant book of papers to William and waited for an answer. He probably thought his brother would call him on the phone or ask to meet for lunch. He wanted to hear that the palace got his papers and that things were getting better, but instead of a friendly call, there was only silence. It was not the kind of silence where someone is thinking about what to say. It was the kind of silence you hear when someone has already made a mean plan. William did not act like a brother. He did not try to sit down and talk about their feelings. He did not reach out to Harry at all. Instead, he did something very serious that showed he was not looking to make peace. William called together a very secret group of people. Most people have never even heard of this group, and that is on purpose. They were not normal helpers. They were secret agents, very smart lawyers, and people who keep the oldest records of the royal family. These people only come out when there is a very big problem at the heart of the family. Harry thought he was starting a nice talk with his brother, but he actually started a scary process that had been waiting in the dark for a long time. The papers he thought would help his kids were now being looked at by people who wanted to find mistakes. They were not looking for reasons to say yes. They were looking for every reason to say no. William got the 72-page report and did something very cold. Most people would hope the brothers would just talk it out even if they were mad. That is what Harry hoped for, but William turned on a secret group called the Sovereign Succession Security Council. You have never heard of them because they are a big secret. They do not have a website and they do not talk to the news. They stay in the shadows of the palace and work on things the royals want to keep hidden. This group is made of spies and the best lawyers in the world. They only show up when the most important rules of the family are being questioned. William calling them shows that he was not acting like a brother. He was acting like a boss protecting a business. This secret council started to work very fast. They took Harry's papers and looked at every single word and line. They spent hours and hours looking for anything that seemed wrong. They were not reading it to learn the truth. They were reading it like detectives who already thought someone was lying. They were looking for gaps or things that did not match up. And they found what they were looking for. Very quickly, the council told the rest of the palace that Harry's information was not consistent. They said his story was full of things that contradicted each other. Inside the palace walls, people started calling this the royal freeze. That name, the royal freeze, shows how cold and mean the situation was. It was not just a small problem. The council said that Harry's 72 pages of proof were a mess. Harry had spent so much money and time on this report. He had doctors and labs help him. He thought he had made something that no one could break, but in just a few hours, the palace experts said it was not good enough. They did not just doubt one little part. They started to question the whole story of how Archie and Lily were born. This was a whole new level of trouble. It was not just about some papers anymore. It was about the whole history of Harry's children. When people start to question the whole foundation of a story, things get very scary. This situation stopped being about paperwork and turned into a giant battle. Harry had no idea that by sending his 72 pages, he was giving the palace exactly what they needed to start a big investigation. Those pages were supposed to prove he was right and end all the questions. Instead, they opened a whole new room full of secrets and problems. Harry's side was not ready to answer the hard questions that the palace was starting to ask. The 72 pages he thought would set his kids free were actually the things that were going to trap them. While the secret council was looking at the papers, another group was busy too. These were people who are experts at looking at pictures. They check to see if photos have been changed on a computer or if someone is wearing a costume to trick people. They are very smart and they look at tiny details that regular people would never see. They were asked to look at photos of Meghan when she was pregnant with Archie in 2019. They focused on one specific day in March. That morning, Meghan went to a royal event and her baby bump looked normal. But then, only 6 hours later, she went to another event and things looked very different. The experts used fancy computers to look at her silhouette in 3D. They saw that the baby bump had changed size and shape in just a few hours. In the second set of photos, the bump was higher up and smaller. They also saw strange lines and creases under her coat. These are lines you would not see on a real human body. The team said that the way the material moved and folded did not look like human skin. It looked like a synthetic material, like something made in a factory. They concluded that she was wearing a shaped device under her clothes to make it look like she was pregnant when she might not have been. This was a very big and shocking thing to say. It opened up a giant question. If that was a fake bump, what was really happening? Where was the real pregnancy? These questions made everyone in the palace very nervous. Before this, people only whispered about these things on the internet. Serious people usually said the rumors were just silly. But now the palace's own experts were saying there was a real problem. The investigation moved into a higher gear. They were not just looking at papers anymore. They were looking at everything. Every part of the story was starting to look like it did not fit together. In the royal family, having a baby is a very big deal. It is not just a private family moment. It is a major event for the whole country. There are special rules that must be followed. Important people must be there to see the birth happen. This is the way it has been done for hundreds of years. For the births of William's children, the top royal doctors were in the room. They are there to help, but also to write down a record that proves the baby is part of the royal bloodline. This has never been skipped in the past, but when they looked at Archie's birth, those doctors were not there. The royal doctors who are always at these births were missing when Archie was born. There were also no hospital records showing when Meghan left the hospital. Usually these papers are made automatically. It was very strange that they were gone. Some people might say that Harry and Meghan just wanted their privacy. They might have wanted to do things their own way. That is a fair thing to think. But for the royal family, privacy is not an excuse to skip the rules. Without those records, no one from the outside could confirm what actually happened. It was just Harry and Meghan's word against the rules of the family. Then they looked at the birth certificates. A month after Archie was born, the papers were changed in secret. At first, the mother's name was Rachel Meghan Markle, but then it was changed to Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex. Meghan's team said the palace told them to change it so it matched other royal papers. That sounds okay at first, but when the investigators checked Kate's papers, they saw she just used her normal name, Catherine Elizabeth Middleton. There was no rule that made Kate use a title. This meant the excuse for changing Meghan's papers was not true. When you put all these gaps together, it starts to look like a pattern of hiding things. Until now, the experts were looking at photos and birth papers, but then a secret group called MI6 did a check on Harry's money. They found something that was not just a question, it was a real number. They found a money transfer for $499,000. This money was sent on May 1, 2019. That was only 5 days before the whole world was told that Archie was born. That timing is very suspicious. Why would they send almost $500,000 right before the baby arrived? The money did not go to a normal hospital. It went through secret companies in different countries and finally ended up at a special clinic in Mexico. This clinic in Tijuana, Mexico, is known for helping people have babies through surrogacy. Surrogacy is when another person carries the baby for you. They also keep things very secret. The investigators found a hidden note in the files that called this Project Bluebell. When you use a secret code name and hide money in different countries, it means you are trying to keep a giant secret. This was the moment everything changed for Harry. When he was shown the map of where the money went, he could not fight it anymore. He had been so confident with his 72-page report, but the money trail proved he was hiding something big. A money trail like that is hard to explain away. You do not need a confession when you can see the money moving to a surrogacy clinic just 5 days before a baby is born. Harry could not say it was just a normal medical situation. The privacy he and Meghan fought for was now making them look guilty. The investigation was now much bigger than just looking at Harry's papers. A special group was called together that only meets a few times in history. It was made of very important people, like historians and secret agents. They were called the Royal Commission for Lineal Ethics and Continuity. This group had a very serious job. They had to decide if Archie and Lily could stay in the royal family. This was not about if people liked Harry or Meghan, it was about the strict rules of the bloodline. The missing doctors and the money trail to Mexico made the commission very worried. Then a secret note from King Charles was opened. In the note, Charles said he was torn. He loved his grandchildren as a grandpa, but as a king, he had to follow the rules that had been around for hundreds of years. He said that the trust had been broken. He agreed that they should not have royal titles if their births could not be proven. Harry flew to London in a private jet to try to fix things. He brought his children with him and agreed to a DNA test. This was a very big deal. The test was done by the best royal doctors and checked by the military. It was a very important medical appointment. The results showed that Harry was definitely the father of both kids. That should have been a win for Harry. But the commission looked at the last page of the report and said the DNA was not the point. They said that even if Harry was the dad, the births were still not done according to royal rules. While this was happening, Meghan was back in California. She was watching from far away and decided to fight back. She made a video and put it online. She called it The Eraser. In the video, she was very emotional. She said the palace was doing a witch hunt against her and her kids. She said the family was being cruel and using old-fashioned rules to hurt them. She wanted the public to feel sorry for her. The video went viral and everyone on the internet started arguing about it. But inside the palace, the important people did not care about the video. They were busy making a real decision based on the rules. The 7 people on the commission were not looking at social media. They were looking at a red folder with the facts. Meghan's video did not change their minds at all. Harry was not allowed to go to a hotel. He was taken straight to his old home, Frogmore Cottage. It had been empty for a long time. William met him there and it was a very cold meeting. William did not act like a brother. He did not even sit down. He just put a piece of paper on the table. It was an order that said the children were being suspended from the royal family. William told Harry that if he tried to fight this in public, the palace would release all the secret files. They would tell the whole world about Project Bluebell and the money sent to Mexico. William said this would not just end their titles, it would ruin Meghan's reputation for the rest of her life. Harry did not really have a choice. He could stay in the UK and live as a normal person or go back to America and lose his kids' royal status. Harry had come to London with a plan and 72 pages of proof, but he was leaving with a paper that said he lost the fight. The next morning, Harry was seen getting on a private jet to go back to California. He looked very sad and tired. The man who wanted to save his kid's future had lost everything. Back in Montecito, Meghan's team was quiet. Her video did not work. Archie and Lily would keep their names, but they would not have royal status or protection anymore. They would grow up in California and probably never understand why their uncle William was so tough on them. Harry had tried to fight for them, but he came back with nothing in his hands. He left London knowing that the royal family would not change their rules for him. Archie and Lily are growing up in California now. Their names are the same, but their future is different. They do not have the royal protection that Harry wanted for them. They had no say in what happened. Their lives were decided by 7 people in a secret room. Harry came with science and DNA, but the palace used 1,000 years of tradition to say no. The institution won the battle. William did not win with feelings. He won by using the rules of the monarchy. King Charles found a way to be a king, even if it was hard on his heart as a grandpa. The secret bloodline files are locked away now, and the full truth might never be told to the public. This story shows how strong the royal family really is. Harry came with modern papers, but William responded with old rules that do not move. 2 kids in California will grow up in the shadow of a secret decision. The monarchy has stayed around for 1,000 years because they know when to be tough. They do not change just because the world does. This was one of those times where they held the line. If you found this story interesting, please like the video and subscribe. We always try to look deep into the stories of the royal family. We will see you next time when the next big chapter of this story is told.